Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Sean with Paycheck to Portfolio. Today, we're on week 3 from Spark to Fire, how to start investing with $500. Just going through the flow chart on the right. Again, all of my W-2 income rolls into my brokerage account. I don't live out of a traditional checking account. I invest in the 3 buckets: long-term growth stocks and funds, closed-end funds such as Cornerstone and Goff and others, and high yield funds such as QQQI, SPYG, and others. What happens with that is it creates equity in the form of growth and compounding and dividends, which will essentially exceed my monthly living expenses and set me free from a 9 to 5 job. All of my bills are paid through the brokerage, either with an E-Trade debit card or with an automatic transfer. And then essentially, what my dividends don't cover, my margin bridges until the snowball is big enough to overcome the expenses of my living. And so I want to stay fully invested on the front end instead of investing the leftovers on the back end. Most people go to work, they trade their time for money, and then they have to repeat that vicious cycle over and over because they're spending to zero and only investing the leftovers, 5%, 10%, maybe if you're lucky, 15%. And what I'm trying to do is to flip the script on compounding and what we know about compounding to fully invest on the front end and to be able to set me free from a 9 to 5 job in say 5 to 7 years versus 30 years, right? So in this starter account, I'm simply taking my large portfolio, my $333,000 total portfolio that I show on Saturdays, and I'm taking it to a smaller scale. And I started with basically $2,500, and I'm adding $500 to that every month, fully investing that $500, and then cycling through a small bill. And you'll see that as I go step by step through the process. What I plan on doing with this fund is handing it over to my 17-year-old daughter who's about ready to go off to college and teaching her how to live out of her brokerage account, giving her the debit card to be able to pay for her college bills and funds and books and things like that. So we'll go step by step through the portfolio, the business spread, the transactions, and all those good things. I want to jump right into the live portfolio just so you can see where we're at. Currently, the net account value is sitting at $2,923 there. The market's been pretty volatile the last couple of weeks. That doesn't bother me. I'm down currently $86, but there's this concept when you're new to investing called dollar cost averaging. The great thing about fully investing a biweekly paycheck is I'm going to be buying at the highs, I'm going to be buying at the lows, and I'll be buying in between, in the middle. So over time, that will smooth out the volatility as long as I'm consistently investing. You can see the allocations down here. You can adjust these. You can customize these allocations in E-Trade and in all brokerages. But if you hit customize here, you can see all the different options that you can select as far as all the different clickable fields that you can grab if you want to see it differently. And then as you can see up here, let me do that one more time. You can actually drag and drop these bars however you want to see it from your perspective. So kind of a neat feature if you'd like, to adjust those things, and you can certainly do that. So you can see SPYG hits my growth bucket. It's a S&P 500 growth index. Weekly Pay is a round hill fund. It's a leverage, so it can be a little bit more volatile, but it pays a good estimated income in the form of dividends. QQQI is a covered call fund with NEOS on QQQ or the NASDAQ. Again, you can see it pays a good estimated income. Some of these funds are fairly new, so you'll see it will say 0 dividend yield. That's incorrect. It just takes some time for that field to populate with a new fund, but you can estimate that yield on the annual income amount there if you need an actual percentage. Or you can simply go to the Roundhill website or these company websites, and they will tell you the projected dividend yields. BTCI is a NEOS covered call fund on Bitcoin. Again, you can see very similar here in that situation. QQQY is a Defiance covered call fund on QQQ or the NASDAQ. So you might be thinking or asking yourself, why do you have a covered call fund on QQQI and QQQY? There's a couple reasons. One is the dividend yield's a little bit different, quite a bit different. QQQI's QQQI is approximately 13.5% right now. QQQI is currently sitting at close to 43% right now on its estimated yield. So obviously, I want a blended yield that's strong, that will pay me a good amount monthly. And I want diversification even amongst the companies and even amongst the fund managers themselves. So, and then you get down into Cornerstone, CRF, CLM. I talk a lot about those on my full channel. If you want to know more about Cornerstone, I made a specific video around them. Please check that out. Very high level, they pay an 18% dividend. They drip that dividend down at their net asset value, which right now is a 20% discount. And then on average, they do a rights offering about once a year. When they file their paperwork to do that rights offering, you can sell high. And when the rights offering's coming to an end, you can buy back low and accumulate more shares quicker, which can expedite your compounding in your account. Why BTC is a covered call fund again with Roundhill on Bitcoin. I added that last week because I think, as everybody knows, Bitcoin's been pulling back recently, and just added again another fund and another fund manager to try to take advantage of that. And then YMAX, I had added, it's all of the YieldMax covered call funds diversified across their whole portfolio. So it tends to perform better than the index when you go to the Morningstar Performance tab and take a look at that. So I started to scale into YMAX as well. When you look at the portfolio, you can check the estimated income tab here if you're new. You can see right now we're projected to get about $700 a year of income. In the next 1 month, you can see it's projected to be about $65. So each time money comes in and I fully invest, obviously that snowball is going to accumulate. And over time, the portfolio is going to grow on top of that, which will allow me to outperform the indexes and allow me to have cash flow and to run my portfolio like a business. I want equity growth, compounding, and cash flow, which allows me to stay fully invested on the front end. The power in the Paycheck to Portfolio system is being fully invested on the front end, being able to compound all of your income, whether it's W-2 income from your job, whether it's investment income in the form of dividends, whether it's business income that you've started on your own and you want to bring it through and compound it further. That's the power of the system, is being fully invested with tried and true compounding methods over a shorter amount of time than traditional methods like in a 401k. So jumping into the actual Excel file, we talked about the portfolio and the portfolio breakdown. I added the estimated income here. It takes the last distribution and then it annualizes it over 12 months. If you ever see some slight variations in what I grabbed maybe the night before versus the morning of, E-Trade takes the last distribution and annualizes it out over 12 months. If you use software like Snowball Analytics or different things, sometimes they can vary in their numbers because the way they're grabbing that data and the way they're projecting that data can look a little bit different from time to time. But, I just wanted everybody to know that. One quote I wanted to call out from Robert Kiyosaki is, it's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. Lots of times people will ask me about the system, how I thought about, fully living out of a brokerage account to begin with and cycling my money through there. There's a few reasons for that. I have a master's degree in business. I've ran private equity companies and I've started multiple companies on my own. So I'm just naturally always thinking about business spreads and arbitrage and how I can, grow income and bless others. I certainly try to do that. And I've just been blessed in that area. Trust me, I have plenty of other weaknesses and strengths. But if you haven't read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's a really good book from a mindset shift and how to think about just money and mindset. And I enjoy that quote, so I wanted to add it there. Okay, on the business spread example, you can see we have a calculator here, another visual just to try to make it easy. The W-2 income rolls in, goes straight into the brokerage account. I invest into those growth, closed-end fund, and dividend funds down here, which provide equity, compounding, and cash flow. And then what my dividends don't pay, my margin covers, and it just keeps me fully invested, which will keep the compounding cycle going. I will post all of this information in the membership Discord. If you're interested, you'll be able to grab some of these calculators, and we have plenty of tools, which I'll show you in a minute. But you'll be able to punch in as you follow along with the video the portfolio values here, which will update your blended yield. When we start to float bills, we'll be able to enter a margin debt amount here, which will calculate the interest rate and then provide you with your actual business spread. This is no different than what every company does with a capital loan to create cash flow and to obviously grow their business over time. It's the same exact concept with this tool and this business spread. I'm just very visual, so I wanted to show you on paper kind of the way my brain thinks about that. The week 1 through 3 transactions will be here as far as the initial transfer of the 2,500. What I purchased with those funds, you can see already dividends have started to hit the account in week 1. Then you can see I made another $250 transfer on 11/4. What I bought right here, and then the dividends that started rolling in from that. And then you can see I did in one more transfer recently of $250. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with those investments, just so it's easy for you to follow along click by click. That's my hope with the Spark the Fire series, is that it's easy for you to follow along. It's easy for you to grab the concepts and you can apply it for yourself. The week 3 actions, I'm still waiting on my debit card. It looks just like this for my total brokerage account, my large account that I show on Saturdays. For the starter account, I've ordered this E-Trade card. This is exactly what my card looks like. I'm still waiting for that to come in the mail. All routing numbers are the same. It starts, it's actually all this for all E-Trade routing numbers. It's the same exact number. The account number within your brokerage account is what differentiates your account from everybody else. So you can use the routing and the account number to pay your bills. My mortgage is paid that way. You'll see that some of the bills I'm paying coming up are going to be that way out of the Spark the Fire account, the P2P Starter Account here. So again, I added a $250 deposit on November 11th. I'm trying to aim for a 40-60 split. What that means is 40% is being allocated to growth and closed-end funds, and 60% is being allocated to high yield in this starter account. I set up 2 auto drafts. The first auto draft was the water bill that's coming up. It's about approximately $43 in expenses. And then the second draft I have coming up is my electric bill. It's $263 in expenses. Obviously, the expenses will adjust month to month as the seasonality changes here in Texas, where I live. Right now, the available for withdrawal amount is sitting at $925. And then there's the margin tab calculator. I just want to show you this. So right now, if you go to this margin tab in E-Trade, it's a very, very important tab. I'm going to talk about this high level and I'll dive into this deeper in future videos. But when you're using margin, each investment has a margin maintenance requirement. As you can see, some are 100, some are 30, some are 50. What that means is if you invest $1,000 in the BTCI, $1,000 of your equity is going to be held out in the form of margin maintenance. Think of it as like a loan to value ratio for your house. If you were to go refinance your home, the bank is only going to lend you a certain amount of money so you don't overextend yourself and that you're not over leveraged. The same thing happens here. So you need a minimum of $2,000 to qualify for a margin account. So you have to maintain that $2,000. But you can see right now amongst the investments, I have a $1,259 margin maintenance requirement down here. I have $2,925 of equity, which gives me $1,665 of excess. And you'll go, well, why doesn't that equate your available for withdrawal? Because this is what I'll swipe my E-Trade card with and tap from, essentially. Well, that's because I have to maintain that $2,000 minimum balance. So this number is very, very important. You want to keep that in a healthy range. And that's what we refer to, obviously, this whole cycle as equity, which you'll be able to see under your balances tab. So Right now, you'll see that this number right here is 100% equity. And as we start to float bills, you'll see that equity reduce. So it's no longer in a dollar. It's no longer a dollar in and a dollar out. Now it's a dollar in, equity up, and we're spending from that equity in this account. Again, we'll talk about that more in the future. If you want to jump into the membership Discord, we have all of that under the pinned comments again in the video. As you can see, we have it broken down by brokerage here. If you're not using E-Trade, I have many members that are using Fidelity, Schwab, Robinhood, Interactive Brokers. We have folks in Canada and Europe and the UK, all over the world, really. And we're all working together to talk about how the system functions with each one of those brokerage accounts. And again, we talk about all the funds, and it's a very strong community. On the right, I took a screenshot of that margin maintenance page I was just showing. On the week 3 orders, you can see I have 2 orders in here pending. I added ECAT, which is a BlackRock fund that pays a 22% yield, and it's a closed-end fund. So I'm starting a little bit more diversification there in my large account. And I'm bringing that concept over to the Spark to Fire account as well. I'm adding NVDY, which is the covered call fund by YieldMax on NVIDIA. One, because NVIDIA pulled back a little bit yesterday, and this fund's been stable for me over a couple of years. So I'm putting $125 into that. It pays approximately a 58% yield. So you can see those orders are currently in right here, and I'm pending those to go through at the beginning of the market. Again, if you need additional resources, these are always under the pinned comments of all of my videos. I have a free starter kit that you can grab if you want to learn more about the system and how I approach the system. It has a simple calculator attached to it. You can book a one-on-one strategy call with me. Again, we have our private membership in Discord to where you can jump in there. We have live calls about once a week, a very engaged community, all learning together. And then I offer white glove setup and coaching, where basically I walk you step by step through my system and how you can apply that if you choose to do so, and walk you through the principles, the competencies of those things, and to help you get started all the way along the way. So I hope you found this series and this video useful. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Hope you have a great day.